Just because you are authentic does not mean people will like you. I feel like there's been a lot of memes and sayings in our culture lately, especially on social media and on YouTube, about being authentic and the importance of being authentic. But the thing that I don't often hear people talk about is that it doesn't mean people are going to like you. I feel like in some ways, in my own experience, it was like I was wanting to be authentic and real and fully myself so that more people would like me. It was like this subconscious twisting. And then a few months ago, I would say late 2022, I had this realization that in being real and authentic, forthcoming, transparent, honest, and integrity at all times, it's really not about the other person. It's actually about me being in integrity with myself. And what it's really about, because what we're often trying to do is to keep somebody from abandoning us, keep somebody from reinitiating the pain in the original wound of abandonment, when being ourselves was not enough to get safety, when being ourselves was not enough to be loved or taken care of. And so I think what we're actually misunderstanding when we try to move and change ourselves to be what we think somebody else wants us to be is to avoid feeling that original wound. But what is actually happening is that we are abandoning ourselves. And so when I realized that what I was doing was abandoning myself, when I don't allow myself to be authentic, real, forthcoming, transparent in every situation, circumstance, and with anyone that's in front of me, I started to see that it was time to make a change. Because when you start to get to know yourself and love yourself, you realize that nothing is more important than being sure that you stay with yourself, that you don't abandon you. And so in this process, what's been really enlightening for me, I have found that just because I'm real and authentic doesn't mean that people are gonna like me. And that if anything, it's a little bit more of a opportunity to really step into my self-love and my allegiance with myself and all of my parts, especially my inner child. Because when we are ourselves, we have to be confronted with the fact that whatever is real about us, that is true for us, our perfections, our strengths, our imperfections, and our weaknesses, may not gel with the person who's in front of us. And I think when we pretend to be something else or be what we think someone wants us to be, there's almost this comfort, often subconsciously, that we'll be more safe. Because at least the person that they left, at least the person that they ghosted, didn't leave the real me. So what is the benefit of being yourself in all circumstances with every single person? It's that you get to enjoy your life fully as you. Because when we abandon ourselves, we're not allowing all of our parts to be present. When we pretend to be someone that we're not, or we avoid conflict because we're afraid that someone may not want to stay if we have boundaries, then we create a life that is not ours, and we create relationships that are based on false relation. We create relationships that are based and built on faulty, fake-ass ground. And that means that eventually it's gotta fall out. And for me, I've noticed that I've always been a very direct and honest person, but there were certain people and in certain places that I was willing to pull back on that because it was scary for others who were not interested in honesty, who were not interested in directness, who were not interested in authenticity. Now, let me be clear. Doesn't mean that I've been perfect. It doesn't mean that I am perfect. Tons of imperfections and faults can still be the case when you are being real. But what I really got this week, y'all, because I had a really big up-leveling in this specific topic, was that when I'm myself, when I show up as me fully with integrity, that means speaking kindness, that means speaking honestly with transparency, sharing clearly what my preference is and what my willingness is and where I would like to show up, and showing up fully as that and asking that in return, I am still going to be in the position where people are not going to be able to show up in the same way, and where some may completely avoid me because that is not the way that they are ready to step up in relationship. So what I really want to talk to you about today, and just really continue to build a dialogue about, is the importance of not abandoning ourselves. So many of us as children were taught to negate our own intuition, to be something that we didn't want to be, to feel a way that we didn't actually feel, to speak words that were not actually true for us out of survival. And now that so many of us are waking up from this dream called survival mode, we see that we don't have to pretend to be something else to be safe. Now, I know that some of us out there are actually in survival situations. I know that there are some people who are listening to this right now that are saying, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent. I'm in an abusive relationship. I am constantly struggling to be able just to get by. And what I would say to you is that this is also a sign for you to start owning who you are and owning what works for you and what does not, and then to speak that. And if you are in a relationship where speaking your truth and speaking your boundaries respectfully, with kindness and awareness, if that is not welcomed and if that is not safe, your highest priority is to get out of those situations, those relationships, and those environments so that you can be in a safe space where you can actually honor what is true, healthy, and right for you. But what so often happens, especially when people have endured a lot of abuse in their childhoods, that they'll find other abusive relationships and environments perpetuating the same kind of behaviors they did as children, and then have real reasons as to why they can't get out of the situation. Because if I speak this to my husband, he'll kick me out of the house. If I speak this to my best friend, she'll never speak to me again. Not recognizing that that is not healthy, and that is not the standard that we are all deserving of. The standard that we all deserve is to be able to have boundaries, to be ourselves, to be flawed, to be powerful, to be kind, and to still be safe and belong. And if there's anyone in any case where that is not allowed, then that is not a safe space for you, and it is up to you as an adult to exit. Something I think also that needs to be said is that there is a difference between being honest and being transparent. And one of the differences that I have found to be the most pivotal and when making changes necessary is that you have to be honest and transparent with yourself before you can be honest and transparent with others. This is a big one. So if you're not able to feel your own feelings, know your own preferences, if you're not in touch with your own intuition and you don't know yourself, how can you be honest with yourself? And then how can you be honest with others? How can anybody be honest with you if all they do is lie to themselves? So it goes both ways. But this is a conversation about you right now. This is a conversation about focusing on our own ability to change and rise to the occasion that is ahead of us, this opportunity to live life fully and truly, authentically. And so in that, I just want to share with you that in order for us to make changes and in order for us to live in integrity and to not abandon ourselves, which is the ultimate heroic move, is the ultimate point of power, we must look at ourselves honestly, transparently, We cannot hide parts of ourselves from ourselves. We have to really address how we feel, what we prefer. We have to get to know ourselves enough to know what is mine, what is my interest, what is my hope, and what are my dreams, rather than what my parents want for me, what my husband or wife wants for me, what my friends or community think I should be or do. And once we start to have that level of realness, transparency, honesty, and truth-telling in our own inner world with ourselves, we can have the strength and the confidence to do that with others. But that's what's required first. So when thinking about authenticity and when thinking about really healing ourselves of our past pains and burdens, this is a major aspect of the healing journey. If you cannot speak your truth to yourself and then with those that you're in relationship with, you are never going to have a relationship built on healthy, strong, sustainable foundations. It will always falter. It will always fall from under you. Now, let's keep this really high level, because if you are able to come to a place where you decide that you are willing to be yourself with all of your strengths and all of your flaws, with all of your power, all of your weaknesses, then what you're gonna see is that you'll start to attract more of that. And anyone who is not willing to come to that same level of relating with you will fall away. And you'll start to see that you'll have so much more strength, so much more joy. Your depression and your latent fears and anxieties will start to fall off because you are at your core holding yourself together, rather than hoping that someone else in the outside world will validate you and make you think that you are strong enough, good enough, worthy enough. In this path of being a powerful, strong, expansive main character in your own life, you have got to be willing to be unliked. You've got to be willing to be different. You've got to be okay with being rejected, because ultimately all of that is an illusion if you never reject yourself. And in standing with your truth, getting to know who you are, what you like and what you don't like, and then expressing that freely, trusting that whatever outcomes come are worth it because you are honoring you, watch your life change. Thanks, y'all. I want to know what you think about this, what your experiences are with keeping it real, being authentic, and how people experience that. This has been a really big shift for me. I've always been a very real and direct person, but I haven't always demanded that of the people that I'm in relationship with, and it's caused quite a bit of problems in my life. And not just because someone has done something to me, but more so because I allowed myself to get into situations that were truly not right and not healthy. And so in taking responsibility for my own power to create this or not in my life, I decided that I was going to start to live in a way in which wherever I go, with whomever I'm with, I am going to be myself. It doesn't mean that I don't change my language so that someone understands me better. It doesn't mean that I don't have different versions of me that I get to play with, but it does mean that I am not watching their face. I am not concerned with their responses in relation to how I express myself. I express myself from a place of integrity because I'm in that process within my own personal life and in my inner world. And I'm open to learning and growing and doing better. And that gets to be a two-way conversation. But I can't have that experience if someone is not willing, open, and ready and available to expressing what their needs are, what their honest experiences, what their boundaries are, and where their responsibility begins and ends. So this is really big stuff. And I hope that this in some way sparks something new for you. So I'd love to know in the comments below. Just drop a little word in there. Say something like truth or authenticity if you feel like this really resonated with where you are today. And let me know if any of this kind of triggered you, if this maybe rang some of your bells. Maybe some of this was a video that you needed to hear today, but it was a little bit triggering, a little bit hard. Let me know in the comments below, and thank you so much for listening.